What's going on, everyone? James Harden. He is undoubtedly talented. One of the greatest scorers in NBA history, arguably the greatest scorer in NBA history. A guy that can shoot from the outside, mid-range, can get to the basket, has really adapted in today's modern NBA. And of course, there's questions about where would he fit in past NBA eras and things like that. But he's so creative in his shot making and just getting to the foul line and things like that, that he's really exposed and really took an advantage in many ways of the modern rules. And so you'd imagine a guy like that would do that in any era. But nonetheless, James Harden biggest knock is he hasn't really had success when it comes to winning. I mean, he's had great regular season success, but when it comes to the playoffs, he's been notoriously underwhelming. And he needs an NBA championship. He's a guy that is just far too talented, arguably the greatest player ever to not win an NBA championship. And he went to the Sixers with that goal. Problem was he was out of shape. He wasn't the same James Harden. He was completely absent when the Sixers got eliminated, and he was a guy that many people thought, like, this is your moment to really step up. This is your time to really kind of show that you're still that guy. And now James Harden has been in the lab and he's been practicing and stuff like that, and hopefully he comes back and he can show again, hey, I am still this guy. I am still one of the top players in this league. I am still one of the best scorers in this league. And him and Joel Embiid are really a powerhouse together if they're both at the peak, right? Joel gave all he had. I mean, he literally was on one leg trying to do everything he could. And James Harden tried to say, that he was injured and stuff like that, but he was just overweight. I mean, look at this picture. He's clearly overweight. And he didn't have the step that he usually has. And he wasn't able to transition the way he was. And granted, maybe he gets back in shape, he buys in more. He's in a happier place with Philadelphia. There are reports that he looks great in practice sessions and stuff like that. So maybe he'll finally buy in, and these two can be that dynamic duo, that big man, wing shooting guard type player that throughout history has been a formula of success. I mean, we have seen it countless times. Dwayne Wade and Shaq, Kobe and Shaq, Magic and Kareem, like these types of big and small going at it and, leading a team to a championship has a wonderful track record. And Philadelphia is hoping to do that this upcoming season. But the question is James Harden just at a decline? He's a guy that is so adaptive to his creativity. He's not a guy that's crazy explosive. He's not a guy that's crazy athletic. He's not a guy that is like a killer. And that's always been his issues. That's always been a thing when it comes to James Harden. He's always been that finesse type player, the guy that just, gets to the line 1,000 times a game. And I mean, there was like ridiculous stats throughout the last several seasons. Like, I think it was like 2 years ago, he shot like 300 more free throws than the next highest free throw shooter in the league, which is just unbelievable. But the problem is when it comes to playoff time, all of that goes away. He doesn't get the calls. The refs let teams and players get more physical and more aggressive. And we'll see what James Harden will show up. Because the James Harden that showed up in the elimination game is the James Harden we have seen time and time again, even when he is healthy, even when he is at the peak of his power, so to speak. I mean, the only time I've ever really seen James Harden be that guy was back in OKC when he was the sixth man, and he completely won the Spurs series when they went to the NBA Finals. I mean, James Harden, literally, if you are old enough to remember, or if you want, go back and watch that series, James Harden was like the guy in that series. But there was no pressure for him then, right? He was the sixth man. He wasn't the face of the team. He wasn't the guy that had to show up. He just got to play. And if he showed up and won, he showed up and won. If he didn't, he didn't. So James Harden, it'll be curious to see what happens with him. Joel, Embiid's going to be Embiid, right? We know what we're going to get from him. He's going to be that 30-point a guy night in and night out. The other positive is that, James Harden, he is an upgrade to Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid had a ton of success. But you traded Ben Simmons to get James Harden, and the goal and the idea was, okay, let's put this two together. Let's put this small and this big together and go win a championship. And if you don't do that, I just think it's a failure all around for everybody. And I'm not saying like Ben Simmons would have led them to a championship or anything like that, but like that was the goal. James Harden is unhappy. He wants to leave Brooklyn and go win a championship. I want to go to Philly with Daryl Morey, right? Morey's like, hey, that's my guy. I'm going to go get him. I'm going to trade and do whatever I have to go get him. You went and got him. And it's like we need to see that reciprocation from James Harden. We need to see James Harden be that guy. Make it look like it was worth going through the struggle and the efforts and the negotiations and all that stuff to go get you. And not look like it was just Daryl Morey trying to recreate the Rockets, right? Because that's what many people feel like in many ways, And, like PJ Tucker, you got PJ Tucker. That's awesome. And to James Harden's credit, he took a $15 million pay cut, right? He could have signed the max, took a 2-year, $15 million pay cut to go get more talent, right? Some of that money is going to go to PJ Tucker, which is a great, solid player, a guy that can be a pit bull for you, but he's up there in age too. You know what I mean? And you have a lot of like these holes on this team, right? Yeah, like they want to get rid of Tobias Harris. That's going to be tough to do. Do they package Harris and Thibault and things like that to try to go get another mid-tier guy? I don't know if that'll get you a star, but maybe you could go get a mid-tier guy, somebody that can come in and be effective and kind of provide a scoring punch, something like that. Tobias Harris, he is a solid player, and maybe with this team, once they have a full year under their belt, because to Philly's credit, and to James Harden's credit, they came in at the end of the season, right? The tail end of the season. But now with the full training camp, a full off season, a full NBA season, maybe Tobias Harris with James Harden just creating for him can be more effective. Joel can be more effective. Tyrese Maxey, he's just looked like an absolute stud, right? I mean, Maxey looks like he's that guy for them. So maybe they have this big three already with Harden and Maxey and Embiid. And I'm sure many Sixers fans believe that, but Maxey is young. He's more of a shooting guard than a point guard, that kind of thing. He's small. He's 6'2". But when you got a guy like James Harden that can do everything that he can do, I think you can make up for that, right? And Maxey seemed to be that guy for them last year and was just, he had his breakout year in many ways. And he looked really good. And hopefully that continues. Hopefully it wasn't just like, oh, it was a good year and, you got the best year that you got, and now he starts to show a decline. Defenses hone in on him more because they know and expect him to go off. He's a guy that can score. He's a guy that can, give them 25 to 30 a night, right? So maybe we need to actually plan our defense for him. That happens a lot. You see guys in the NBA that have absolute incredible seasons, and then teams adapt and they adjust to it and they go, okay, well, we need a game plan for him. Because when it's a guy that was just a role player or just a young player, which Maxey, to his credit, is. He's only 21 years old. So he still has a ton of room to grow. He has a ton of room to develop. He's younger than some of the guys that were drafted in this year's draft. So I'm not trying to take anything away from him. But it happens a lot. You see these guys have great years, and then what ends up happening is teams make the defensive schemes around that, and they're not as effective. But hopefully with James Harden being James Harden, maybe they could do that. Maybe that he can continue to improve and continue to be that guy. They also got Daniel House, which isn't, it's not going to jump off the page at anybody, but it's a guy with size that can knock down the three-point shot, things like that. That's really beneficial. That's huge, especially in today's NBA. He's probably not going to get a ton of burn, but he is a guy. The Sixers have the talent. They have the pieces. Whether they finally package Tobias Harris and Thibault or something and go get a mid-tier guy, or they just run it with the team that they have. They have enough to compete and win an NBA championship. They have a very talented roster. It's just all lies on James Harden. Which James Harden are we going to get? And one last little kind of point is for a potential addition is Markieff Morris, right? Again, solid guy. Play multiple positions, can play defense, knock down the three-point shot. This tweet came out yesterday, or 2 days ago now, sorry. But asked, come to Philly. Markieff Morris responds, been wanting to for a while now. So it's out there. Like, hey, I want you guys to pick me up. he's a guy that, again, can play the 3. He can play the 4. He's played small ball 5 on some teams. He had the whole Jokic incident that kind of like sat him out for the whole season, but he is a guy that was really good, part of the Lakers championship team, a guy that was really great for them and played multiple positions and played some serious defense and hit some big shots and things like that. Like, these are the kind of guys that I think Philly needs. Like, as old as Tucker is, the impact that he's going to have is going to be beyond his stat line. And Keith is another guy that could do the same thing. He's another guy that would be more than just his stat line. At the end of the day, I would love to see James Harden have some further success, right? I mean, you could make an argument that he should have won a championship if it wasn't for, the unbeatable Warriors. If it wasn't for the Warriors, then he probably would have had 1 or 2 by now. But it's just, we've seen him just be absent time and time again. And last year didn't help his case. Last year didn't help his argument of like, I am that guy. And I hope we can see him kind of form into that guy. Because, I mean, and Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, year in and year out, were considered a contender. What are James Harden and Embiid? You upgraded tremendously across the board. And you still have all of your guys. You still have all your core pieces. You still have Tobias Harris. You still have Max E. You have Thibault. You even have other young guys that maybe you could package together to go get a mid-tier guy. There's talks about, maybe them getting in the Kevin Durant mix. I don't know if they have enough to get Kevin Durant, but you never know. Or maybe they could get a mid-tier guy if they can kind of, slide into a potential 4-team trade, something like that. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think about the Sixers this year? Do you think that Harden has it and he's going to be that guy and he's going to show everybody, that, like, hey, I want to win? Again, you got to give him credit. He took a $15 million pay cut, which many players of his caliber won't do and haven't done and refuse to do. So, give him credit. He's showing, like, hey, I want to win. I will do whatever is necessary to win. I'm getting my body right. James Harden himself said you're going to see a different James Harden next season, that he was hurt and, out of shape and stuff like that because of the injury. So we'll see. We're going to find out very quickly. And if he's right and he's a man of his word and he can come out, then, I think the Sixers could have a lot of success. And they're a team that isn't being talked about very much in this offseason. We haven't really heard them. We've heard about the Celtics and the Bucks and things like that. But the Sixers, I think that they need more shine. And I'm not a Sixers fan by any means, but from an unbiased perspective, an NBA perspective, as somebody that is a fan of the NBA, James Harden on the Sixers is a real game changer for them. If you get Houston Rockets, James Harden. But anyway, again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.